And I'd like to welcome you all here today to our webinar, Introduction to the National Map Viewer and Data Delivery Services with Rob. I closed up my little list, so I want to get your last name right, Rob. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Rob Dollison from USGS. And we are going to start today with a very brief orientation intro that I do every time, and I apologize to those who have been through this a million times, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page in terms of how to use the webinar interface. So the first thing is that you're all muted. You don't have to worry about noise going on in your background, and you'll stay muted throughout the webinar today. You can open and close that panel, that GoToWebinar panel that I think is showing up on the right side of your screen by clicking on the little orange button that has a white arrow in it. So if you find that it's obscuring your view too much, all you have to do is click on that. It'll go away. You'll be left with this little, just the little small panel here. And you can always click on that orange button in order to open. There we go. In order to open the panel back up. If you're having any audio issues, which I know you won't hear me saying this if you are, but hopefully you'll see stuff on the screen. If you are having audio issues, look for the audio panel. You should see the word, and if you click on the little plus sign, it'll open it up and you'll see what your options are. You can make sure that you've got it set properly for what you actually are planning to do, which is use the telephone or use the mic and speakers if you're wanting to use those. And also you can click on audio setup in order to see the phone number if you've lost track of that, if you want to switch from mic to telephone. And then you can submit questions at any time by typing them into the questions box that's also in your panel. And again, just click on the plus sign to open that up, type it in. You can see that I don't know what your options are actually in terms of who you send the question to. But you might be able to choose whether to send it to Rob or I, but I don't think you can actually. So type your question in there and just send it, and it'll come to me, and it won't interrupt Rob, so you can actually send it at any time. Probably will save most of the questions till the end unless a question strikes me as particularly relevant right at that moment before he moves on, and then I will pass it along and alert him that there is a question that he might want to answer. But other than that, we'll probably save most of them for the end, and then I'll pass them along to Rob and he'll answer them. The one other thing that I wanted to do right now is to make sure that most of you can hear me, and if you look on your panel, you should see a button that looks like a little orange hand with a green arrow on it, and that's the hand raising button. So if you could all click on that button, that gives me some reassurance that you can actually hear me. Okay, there's some. Good. Great. Thank you very much. And I think that, oh, right, so Q&A at the end, and then you will receive a follow-up email after the webinar that will include a link to where webinars get posted. This is being recorded. That's the one other thing I wanted to mention. We're recording the webinar, and barring technical difficulties, which I have had a few of lately, the recording should be done today, and hopefully I can get it posted at YouTube, and that link that you'll get in the email will take you to our YouTube page by the end of the week. If not by the end of this week, then sometime next week, but you can check back there. And actually, the one other thing that I usually forget to mention is that when you close out of the webinar today, you'll immediately be taken to a very, very brief feedback survey, and I really appreciate if you just take a moment to answer just I think 3 questions and give us any thoughts that you have about how this could be better, and any other topic ideas also that you'd like to see in webinars. I think that's it for now. So like I said, if you have questions, you can just type them in and send them to me. They won't interrupt Rob, and I think I'm ready to hand it over to Rob and get started. And well, let me just show you one more thing. At our VCGI website, although this isn't really where they're posted anymore, you can always come back here to look in the event archive. I used to actually post the recordings in the event archive, but now with our new website we can't do that. So what I do instead is just have the link that goes right to the YouTube page. So just want to point that out. If you ever can't find us on YouTube and don't have the link, you can always come to our website and go into the event archive to find that link. Okay. So Rob, are you all set?
Yep. Hopefully everybody can hear me.
I can hear you, so I think that means they can all hear you too.
All right.
So I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right, Leslie, thanks so much for the vicarious invitation to Vermont. I wish I could be there more with my skis or some fun things for the beautiful countryside out there to be enjoying, but this is the next best thing. Looking forward to getting a chance to share information about the national map, and specifically the goal is to get folks on the call familiar with how to get to our data. So I'll be talking about the National Map Viewer, but it's really about getting to our data and also the services that we offer that you can use along with Vermont GIS data and services as well. So this is what I'm going to cover today. I'll spend most of it as a live demonstration, and I'll try to pace it not to go too fast, but please feel free to ask questions. I know we'll talk to them some at the end, but hopefully if there are questions in the middle, we can try to address them too as well. So this just putting this slide up here, this is a couple years ago, back in December 2009, is really we sort of launched this initial effort along with part of our 125 years of topographic mapping anniversary. And it was launched as a new viewer in 2010, but it was in beta in 2009. And a lot of the goals here before coming to the national map or to USGS, we had many different viewers, one for sort of each product line. And we were maintaining lots of different viewers and other things. We really decided, we're not quite really in the viewer business. We really wanted to be able to get folks to our products more through one point of entry to be able to come in and get to the full suite of products that we had, and rather than all the individual stovepipes and things. So this is what you'll see today has really been what our effort has been to do that, to make people be able to more easily get to our data. So what I'm going to be covering is our actual delivery services, the viewer, our base maps services. We'll talk about data download. There are some GIS functions in the viewer. I won't spend a lot of time there, but I just want to let folks know about them. And talk about matching up with other services. And a lot of our work right now is preparing products for delivery from the cloud. So a lot of our download products over this next year will be moving to a cloud-based delivery model, and I'll talk more about that and some of the changes to the products that are going on. So this is a little overview of some of what I do as a manager of our delivery services. These are the areas that I'm focused on, as we like to say here. I don't so much brew the beer as I'm about trying to get it out to folks or the delivery of it. And but I do work very closely with those folks that do lead and head up the delivery of our, the building of our products. But so really, when we look at our delivery services, we talk about viewers, so our web map services, sort of the discovery, the search and discovery, both from a gazetteer, but how do you go out and find other maps and data to bring in? What functions do we have that we support that are core USGS functions that might be in our viewer or available as services to other? And most importantly for us, really what differentiates us from from things like Google and Bing is really it's about download. It's about getting to our data, and that's really what's the primary difference between the national map and its main focus here is being able to deliver that data. We probably manage and deliver about 1 petabyte of data a year, support about 16,000 downloads a month, so it's a very active site. And so the rest of this I'm going to try to be showing more actually live here, which is a little easier to do, and hopefully make sure if I get to the right one. So I'm going to start off at our home page, nationalmap.gov, just in case you can't remember where the viewer is. You can get to it from our home page. We are the first button down here on the left. There's also a link over here, but so in case you can remember nationalmap.gov, you can get to the viewer from this page, and we can launch the viewer right here. We also have links to FAQs. We have some service announcements about some of the changes to our data up here. But I wanted to at least let you know this is how you get to us right from the National Map web page. I'm going to show a quick start guide here, which is what you could get you through these FAQs, but I think it just gives you some quick. I wanted to let you know that these guides are here, because I know, if, like any tool, if you're not using it every day, you come back to it and you say, now, how did I do this, or where did I go? We do have a set of guides, even though we know most of us don't like to look at the instructions, but I wanted to go over a couple concepts here with the viewer. And so to download data, the most important piece is knowing this. Our download button is right there. But essentially, we have these base maps for visualization, and we're producing some new ones that I'll be talking about as well. Obviously, I think everybody's pretty familiar with searching. And then we have these overlays here, which are really about investigating our data. To be able to dive into the actual data services query, you can use them to create a base map completely from even using a blank template and just build it from the overlays. But you don't have to use these to actually download the data. They're really about investigating the data and doing so. All you really need to do to download is zoom to your area of interest and then hit download, and you'll be shown with the products that are available, and we'll go through that. But so in this quick start guide, there's also here about some of the instructions on download, and we'll go through that. But I just wanted to quickly let you know that this guide is here, and it's, I think, fairly useful in helping folks get oriented to the viewer. Now, those of you that are familiar with using ArcGIS and some of those, it shouldn't be, the concepts here will not be that difficult, but it is a fairly advanced viewer that it's just that basically we have partnered with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency who built this, obviously with support from ESRI doing a lot of the programming behind it, but it's called the Palantera Viewer. It's a Java-based, for those interested in things, it's a JavaScript, very light configuration file that basically you can modify and point to services and other things to quickly build into your legend. It's mostly, they use it to support events, things. So it has a lot of powerful capabilities, so that can be a good thing, but also because of that, for someone very basic coming into this, it can be a bit intimidating, the types of options it has. So here's our national map viewer, and this is our new base map. This has the new contours. We finished mapping the contours of the lower 48 last year, and so we now have new contours for all the states. And if I zoom in, I can just go into an area here somewhere, give you an idea. So these are some small-scale contours, but this base map is a tile cache base map. It's pretty fast. It can be used alongside other base maps that are in the Google Web Mercator projection. So if you have a cache base in your application and you want to use National Map with it, it's easy to include in alongside with a Google or Bing or your own base maps. But for these, this is our latest cache base map. In the past, we've had most of our maps have been a combination of services, but as we've that you had to link to different zoom levels, but we're replacing them all with cache maps. It's taking a bit of time trying to do this nationally. There are not that many other folks out there that do it at this scale, with obviously exceptions of Bing and Esri and Google. But we're building out a Topo view. We have a new imagery cache that right now has a, okay, let me go back to that imagery. Not sure why, there must be something strange going on with that today. I'll go see why. But we have a brand new imagery cache that also is of NAPE imagery covering the U.S., and we're in the process of building an imagery topo view I can show in this standard, just to give you an idea of what it will be looking like. So pretty soon, hopefully in the next month or so, we'll come out with this, which looks closer to our U.S. Topo product for those that are familiar with the Geo Pdf product. So that's going to be one new base map that comes out. And we also have Nhd View. This is, you'll see it takes a little longer to draw because of it's not all cached, but this will also be available as a cached base map. And, there we go. So And here we're mostly focused on what the water scientist is looking for, watersheds, streams, those types of things. And we have basic hillshade. So those are the core products that we have as base maps. Why don't we go over and zoom into Vermont a little bit more to get an area that's even more familiar to everyone here. So that's the core base map functions. We do have services over here, these overlays that you can investigate. And actually, just to give you an idea of these overlays for investigating information, I'll go zoom out for a minute, but one thing you can do if you want to know where we have what resolution of elevation data, you can turn this on and see where we have 1/9 arc second. Looks like we've got some high resolution up in elevation data up New Hampshire, northern Vermont. The rest is 1/3 arc second. So it gives you a way to take a look at the product that we have. This also gives you ability here on imagery to show where we have some of the we can look to see where we have 1 foot outlines. Turn that on a sec, but it should start showing you these blue areas, and here's more where we have the high resolution data. And so obviously you can come in here and you can go on and investigate our data and work with it in the viewer, or all these services are available also to bring into ArcGIS. So you can bring in the space map service, you can bring in these overlays. I'll go ahead and zoom in a little here. And so obviously on the cache-based map, what's there is what the cartographer has said to include in the map. You can't turn off the features within the base map itself, but you can go on and add or enrich the data through the overlays and investigate it more. So I could turn on our hydrography data and be seeing the watersheds and other things, and can really go in the overlays and select all kinds of different features to turn on or off and have more custom building of that map. So it's a little bit on investigating our data, and I'll show more about some of the other services that are on here. One thing I did want to show, each of these records, you can go in here and actually change transparencies, but I wanted to mention the map service metadata. This is just one way right from the viewer if you wanted to get to a map service. We have a full list, but right here at the bottom of the metadata, you can get to the map service or the REST service endpoint. So these are things you could bring right into your ArcGIS session and use there as well through these interfaces, through those endpoints. Okay. What I'd like to transition to is probably the most important part of the viewer, is really the download. So why don't we look at Montpelier. Okay, so we're in Montpelier area. Let's say we wanted to get some data over Montpelier. Zoom in a little bit. All right, so let's say I've zoomed into my area of interest. Depending how big it is, I just select download, and then I have several options. I can start by selecting a quad map, or I could click to draw a bounding box of my area. I could also use the current extent, everything in my frame, and there's even an option to go in and input coordinates. So you can add coordinates in and put in an area that way. So in this case, I'll just go ahead and select a quad. So I selected the Montpelier quad, and I can just hit download, and I'm given, here's the full list of our products. So you can get all the US topos. If I had a bigger area that fit it, I could get the historical maps. Why don't we just take a look at that, as well as structures, boundaries, geographic names. These are all the core features in the national map. We also have our new contours available for download. Land cover, elevation, ortho imagery. And elevation is by far our largest download, what people come to get. But these are all products that you can get. And I just wanted to show you historical topos are sort of a new product in this last year that have been released if you weren't aware. We'll just take a look at this. Let's go. I'll go next. We'll just add historical for a second into the. And so then I've got a variety of different scale ranges. why don't I just look at our 7.5-minute series. Looks like they were from 68 to 9. There's 3 different ones in this area. I can hit next. And it's added to the cart. I can come in here and look at this, click on this also even, and just see what those maps are that are available. There they are. And get previews, and I could just download them right from here. Or I can also, the next step in the cart, essentially, I just move to checkout. I give it my email address, and it's going to send me an email with all the links in it to the various products that I've ordered. I thought maybe I would go through that one more time here. Let's go, let's see, I could clear the cart. Okay, let me just hit download again, see if it'll let me come in here. Okay, I'm going to go download. In this case, I'll say we're going to get elevation and ortho imagery. And so right now, one of the things you'll notice in this cart, I'm showing 4 different elevation products and about 8 different ortho imagery products. And one of the key things here you'll see is the type is a staged product. It means we are moving to prepackaged formats. We've in the past done a lot more of a dynamic clip and ship, where you would select your area and then we would cut out the data and package it in the format you wanted. Well, I'm going to the cloud. We're really pre-packaging data in certain formats. Having copies of it will be up on the cloud, and then you will be able to quickly just get the link and it'll give you the data. So some of the challenge, it's a little less flexibility. We're going to give you all tiles that touch your area of interest, so even you can still draw custom polygons, but you're going to get all the data that intersects with that polygon, and it won't be necessarily custom clipped. So these are some of the formats right now: grid, float, and arc grid are what we're going to be offering elevation in. There's also going to be an IMG format for an ERDAS Imagine format, which is a very robust format. So I could add that to the card. I can also come in here and look at the urban area, the various imagery. So we have some NAPE. And generally what you're going to find on the National Map Viewer is our most current data that we have. Historical data will still be provided through a program we have called Earth Explorer out of Aros Data Center, and that's really where our archive and historical collection is. So the National Map Viewer is generally focused on providing you the most current data we have. Maybe the one exception to that are the historical quads that we showed. So again, I've just entered these into the cart. I would check out, and away we would go. Before I go to that next page, I'm going to go ahead and refresh just so I don't get too much in between downloading and showing up how to use some of the other features on the viewer. I guess before I go talk about the other features, I do want to talk a little bit about some of these new products, a little more just some of the changes, and I think I do have one slide that will just touch base on that a little bit. Okay, just to help with that discussion. Whoops, these are slides covering some of the things I will show. Whoops, there we go. Pardon me. Okay, so these are some of the pre-stage products that I mentioned that elevation going to these arc grid, arc float formats and IMG files. Ortho imagery will be compressed data, so the NAPE will be 10:1 compressed JPEG, and our urban area data will be starting to switch to a 5:1 compressed data, and that will be our default product downloads. Will be the compressed versions of these files. We're also looking at having a combined vector product, and so that would be all of our vector layers within a US Topo quad will be there, so you could get one file, would give you boundaries and contours and hydro and the variety of vector products. Also looking at offering more of a US Topo, which is a Geo Pdf product that we have, but we're looking at offering it as potentially as map packets next year. So still some things in getting approval through our budget process on that, but that's our plan right now, is to be starting to offer more of a GIS-ready packet from our data. So each of these we have to decide what types of footprints we're going to be offering. A lot will be 1 degree by 1 degree cells, or 7.5 minute quad. Things like NHD will come in watersheds, will be one of the typical delivery packet. So these are all things we're in the process of defining right now and working on moving to the cloud into this, going from a more of a dynamic clip and ship into pre-staged. And the main focus of that is the volume of data we have, the number of downloads we had. By going to clip and ship, we were having to have too many servers on the web, all packaging and delivering data. It was getting too prohibitive to be able to sustain that. We're really going to be focusing a lot of our attention on the elevation data and NHD, a lot of the new LiDAR data. We have some new initiatives one called 3DEP, for really working at trying to get more LiDAR data for the nation. Here I've talked about download, talked about our base maps and these overlays. I just want to spend a little bit of time showing how you can mash up, even in this viewer, other data, whether it's Vermont data that you want to bring in or other sources. We do feature some other data here that are just services, such as our USGS protected areas database. We have some land cover and other. Oops, I'll go turn that on. But these just gives you an idea of some of the types of what lands owned by tribal, federal, different trusts. These are some from other parts of USGS. We have hazards that would show things like some hazard warnings. Well, it doesn't look like any snow up in your area today, but it could be as well as earthquakes and fires that show up in here as well. And we bring in some other partner data that we will be including in the national map, more of things like our wetlands and Bureau of Land survey, and as well as national park boundaries are some of the other services that we feature. But more and more what's exciting out there is being able to mash up data from other sources. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll zoom a little bit more into Vermont here. So one source that I could go to, for example, is our USGS Minerals online spatial data. And they have a whole list of web maps, OGC web map services available on all types of different minerals and geology. In this case, I would click on the one for Vermont here. I do have it open already. And I could just copy this web map service URL, copy it up from here, and I can go bring it to the viewer, and I can just paste it into our search bar. We've made it so you can just paste in the search bar. There is an advanced tool for adding data. I'll show that just at the moment too, where you can add an ARC REST URL, a KML file, or web map service, or a web map tile service you can all add to the map. But you don't even have to know that tool is there. You can just actually paste it into our search bar. I'm going to hit enter, and it should go out. Interesting. It usually goes out and gets it just fine, unless I somehow missed one little letter in the URL. I can just do another try at that. Let's go give it a... So I have this. Let me just... Let's see. I'm going to copy that. If not, we'll go do another one. But and the joys of map services, sometimes they take, you can be a little finicky. But here's Vermont geology. I can go in and turn on the lithology here, and there we should have seeing the geology of Vermont. And with this little triangle in here, I can get to things such as our transparency, change the transparency on that service a little bit. I'm going to just hold the shift down and do a little zoom in tricks. So we're starting to just mash up data on the web. I think all of you have seen things like ArcGIS Online. These aren't necessarily new concepts, but I wanted to show you you can do it fairly easily. Even within this viewer, you can find our services to bring into others. And just another initiative here at the USGS, our Geo platform, which the idea is to help you be able to find our federal authoritative sources. I'll just use an example here. If I look for soils, I could come across a soil survey from Sergo, and I could come down here and see, I could grab this URL, and in this case it's a REST service URL, copy it, and go back to the viewer here, and I can add this one in as well. So just quickly showing you some ideas of how you can mash up with services outside, create your own map with the national map base maps. We have some featured data that you can also call in. And as I create these, I can also save a link, shorten link to it, and share that map with someone. Now there is some limitation here in terms of the number of services. It will share this link, but I think it supports one added content from outside if I was to share it with you right now. And you can as well, you can go in and print it. So, and create a PDF of the map if you want it. This might take a little bit to run through. You can change the titling and things. So we have a print map capability. So I just have walked through showing how, okay, I can go download that. This should be a PDF of the map I created. So all these services that we've been looking at and mashing up, different ones here, but all of our base layers, you can bring these also, as I mentioned, into ArcMap. You can go in there and add the server, select the service, and I just want to show you a key resource here. We went to it in terms of, not that most of us like to hit help, but I wanted to say there's all kinds, from this help you can get to that quick start guide I just showed. And you can also get to our map service list. So this shows all the different types of base maps, services, some of the other things that we have in the viewer. These are the endpoints. You can go to the REST endpoints and get that information. So you can get to them from this list or right directly from the panel on the side. And so those are all resources that you can take advantage of. I know I've been talking here for about a half hour, going through some things. I thought maybe this is a good time to open up for questions. I can go back to some areas where there may be, if I went too quickly on some things, that might be worth addressing. Leslie, do you have see any questions coming in or things that people would like me to address in more detail?
So far, they're just rapt, paying attention, and no questions yet. But now that we've put it out there, they might start sending a few in. I actually had a question.
Sure.
You had said that you could share a link
Yep.
to the map. So I assume that is only meaningful like in the moment that you're working on this. Like as soon as, if I was doing something like this and I added in some layers or did some stuff and zoomed in and then said, oh, take a look at this, it would only be relevant right at that moment, because as soon as I shut this down, that all goes away, right?
No, actually, I think it basically saves the context of what services were turned on, what layers you had. The limitation right now is, whereas I have a map showing a mashup of two different outside services, it would not save both. We're unfortunately limited right now to just saving one.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we're working on quite a bit, it's more on the experimental side, but we really, as a base map, base data program, are really interested in our data being able to be used in many different applications. So our focus is not so much, even though I'm showing you this viewer and its capabilities,
right.
Our focus really is how do we make our data able to be viewed in many viewers.
Right.
And so one of the things we've been working on, this print capability, there is something here as being able to say, besides KML, we're looking at saving things in these, basically a context file. And so I could I could take, if I happen to like, let's say, an open layers viewer, and I'm familiar with that, we'd like you to be able to take the context you have here. Let's say this, I've turned on these services and I've got these base maps and I want to share them with my science community to bring my science data on, but I'm a group that uses open layers viewer. Well, we want you to be able to really easily save its context and be able to bring it into the viewer of your choice. And so that's one of the things we've been working on, and we're working with OGC to try to even on a sort of an open context standard where it make it easy, a lightweight thing to change your context from one viewer to the other.
Neat. So I do have 2 more questions
Sure.
from other people. What is the format of the U.S. Topo map packets?
So the Topo packets all come, okay, so well, right now our US Topo product all comes as a Geo Pdf. And I can turn it, I could go through the download, I can also get to it this way. So if I just click on this map there, I can see the US, since I've turned on the overlay of US Topo, this gives me a quick thumbnail preview, but they are all a Geo Pdf. So really the US Topo product is really designed for the non-GIS user. It's a downloadable format. You can take it with you, but you can also print a high-quality 7.5-minute quad. So here we have some print function, but it really is a fairly, it's more of a screenshot kind of a print capability. But if you want a high-quality print of the map that you can take out in the field, the PDF supports that. Plus, you don't have to have any GIS to be able to turn on and off some of the layers.
Right.
So we're looking at offering this as more along the Esri map packet format. So this was some of the work we've been doing this year with our geology community views. So you could get the data as more as a GIS packet of information.
So that would be sort of a combination of shape files and other types of files that you'd pull into ArcGIS and would basically give you a full-blown map in your ArcGIS.
It would probably be a file geodatabase of a lot of the vector products, the imagery. We probably aren't going to include the imagery in the packet. You just would either get it from the Topo or be able to call in a service, some of the bigger layers. But that's what we're working on now, and hopefully we'll, as we start producing our Topo, the new areas that we're mapping next year, refreshing, we're covering the country every 3 years, and then we'll hope to be able to start offering those map packets as part of as another product that would be for the GIS user. Nice. In the meantime, we will offer these also this integrated vector product package.
And then there was another question which I think is referring to when you were showing that you could when you create your print in the viewer here, or sorry, when you create your map in the viewer here, that you can go to print it. The question was, is the PDF a Geo Pdf? But I'm assuming that's
in that case it's not. In that case, it's just really a PDF for you to print the file with.
Okay.
One thing I didn't show, there are a lot of sort of advanced tools that you can use in here. There's some pretty easy ones like a range ring if you had an event, let's say a spill or something here, and you wanted to say, okay, I'm going to want to see, maybe 5 rings, each maybe about I'll say a mile or something apart. You can quickly draw a series of rings. So you've got some quick tools like that. There for the really brave, there's some actual database queries, and why don't I do a query builder? Why don't we try saying, okay, this one lets me go do some queries on some of the services. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to do a simple query, and I'm going to select our structures database. And we don't have a lot of structures in our structures database. We'd love to have a lot more. It's primarily schools, police stations, fire stations, those types of things. But that's those are what. And so then I would select what layer, and I'd say I'm interested in schools. Let's go take a look at how many of the schools in Vermont. And I'm going to say, so these take, this is for those of you doing GIS, working with databases, this is not unfamiliar territory, but it is more for the brave. So these are some of the powerful tools. It's kind of neat that I can do this without having an ArcGIS on my desktop. I can come in here and just do it through the web. Certain queries obviously are going to take longer than others, and I'm picking not too big of a state and not too huge of a data set, but it will take it would take longer than something you would do in Art. But it should take a few seconds. Go out, run that query, come back, and hopefully start showing me points of the schools in Vermont.
And I'll throw out one other question did come in. When
Sure.
will new versions of the New York US topos become available?
I'm trying to think of, I'd have to look at the cycle. I'm sorry I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can get back to you. I just don't, unfortunately, I don't have the cycle in front of me as to when the new,
I might be able to look that
the next cycle should be through. But I can't remember if it's scheduled for this year or for next, but it should be pretty soon.
And I'll throw out
every
that
3 years.
I'll throw out that one of my colleagues here mentioned to me recently that I think we have the new Vermont topos, the Geo Pdfs, and so we're just working on making those available, I believe, or it's something that's coming up fairly soon for us, at least.
And so one of the things in US Topo, I know we've got a redesign, some new fonts, some new other design changes that will start to be implemented this year as well. I think we're also adding PLSS. I don't believe Vermont's a PLSS state. Those of us on the east are
No.
as familiar with PLSS, but those are some of the types of features that we're adding in. But I can try to get back to you on the date. Right now, we used to sort of show in this overlay, and so this was just showing the schools, in Vermont. So that query did come back. We used to show on this US Topo overlay more how we were going through. Red means there is a map available, but I don't have a view right now that shows what states we're working on this year or next, and I'd like to add that in. That's one of our plans, hopefully add it. So you could get to that question and say, okay, what states are we working on this year and next year, and be able to visualize that more. But unfortunately, we don't have that capability in the viewer at the moment. Any other questions?
Nope, that's it for now.
All right. So we hopefully by the end of this year, all these base maps will be tile cache base maps, very fast, easy to merge in. Our products will be maybe not all migrated to the cloud, but we're really migrating to all of these pre-staged products, compressed imagery, certain viewer formats in elevation data. We will provide links to scripts that you can run to convert, and we'll let people know about software programs that are available to do those conversions. And those are some of our, I guess, our main changes in the national map. And I've really enjoyed getting this chance to share this information with the folks working in GIS in Vermont, and look forward to have more dialogue with you and opportunities to come. So.
Yes, thank you very much. So
Thanks.
if anybody's been holding on to questions, now is the time to send them out before we let Rob go. I wish I had remembered to ask somebody about the topos before this, just because I had an email just recently where my colleague was talking about how they should be ready soon. I could have been more specific.
Okay. These are some other tools that are here. They're annotation drawing tools you can export to a KML. There's some limitation that it's not very easy to share them back with someone. I can share this map with you and I can create an overlay, but I sort of have to send you the link, and here, by the way, here's a shape file. So you ought to sort of, you have to have, it's not quite as easy to work with them as we would like.
Mm-hmm. I know something else before we do wrap it up. Do you have a PowerPoint slide with your contact information on it?
Yes, I do, and I will put that up here, and
just to make sure we have
that as well.
Yeah. And I think Rob is also going to send me this PowerPoint slideshow so that I can post this as well on our event archive page. so that if for some reason you'd rather just sort of glance through this than watch the recorded webinar, you can do that as well.
Essentially, I have some screen grabs of some of the different steps, things we did. We didn't necessarily go into the public land survey system, but these are just showing mashups, and so trying to capture some of the core things we did in the demonstration.
Yep. Great. All right, let me quickly take control back and show my web page, just so I can point out to anyone who missed it the first time. Oops. So I just wanted to point out to everybody where I'm going to be posting the Rob's PowerPoint. And if you lose track of how to get to our YouTube page, you can also come here to get the link to it. So in the event section of our website, there's a subcategory within that for Event Archive. And then you'll see webinars, and all of our webinars and links to the YouTube page are here, and any additional materials are also linked right here. So again, we're just at the VCGI website. And oh, and by the way, it won't look like this at the top. I'm actually logged into Edit right now, so you won't see this stuff up at the top. Events, Event Archive, and Webinars. Okay, I think that's it. Let me just check the questions one more time. I think there's just a comment there. Okay, great job. Somebody sent you a comment. Great job. Looking forward to sharing the recorded presentation. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much, Rob, and thank you everybody in the audience. And do take a minute to fill out that little feedback form and let us know how we can do this even better or what topics you'd like to see covered. So thanks, Rob, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.